Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 11 of Why You, Why Me, and it's titled A Date? Okay, you said, trying to remain as calm as possible. I spoke to my grandma. She mentioned something about soulmates swapping bodies, but that doesn't mean we're soulmates, you hollered at the end. He scoffed. Who wants to be a soulmate anyway? Who wants to be yours? You snorted back. There was an intense stare-off with neither of you backing down until you finally growled, "Let go of me." He obeyed, slightly embarrassed that he still had a hold of your ankles that whole time. "Leave me alone, okay?" you said, tears welling up in your eyes as you looked away. He caught the look on your face and softened slightly. "Oi, I didn't mean—" "Just shut up, okay? You've done enough damage," he said, hurt by his ruthless words. "Like you were any more gentle with your words," he scoffed, hopping off the bed. You looked back up at him as he made a move to leave. You didn't want him to go. His company was actually really comforting, strangely enough. "Wait, Bakugou," you said softly, fearful that he was going to leave without you making an apology. I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I said," you said, your gaze falling to the bed. He looked at you and then turned to walk out. "I didn't mean what I said either," he called back as he walked straight out the door. Your eyes shot up. What part did he not mean, you thought? This guy was such a mystery. Your boss was starting to worry about you. You'd had a seizure at close-up, then you didn't come to work because of another seizure. He couldn't rely on you like he thought he had been able to. At the next work day, he pulled you aside into his office to have the talk, regretfully letting you go. I don't have anyone to cover you at the last minute if you don't show up for work," he said with a sigh. You were crestfallen, nodding sullenly in agreement. You thanked him for the time that you had spent there as his employee and left the shop heartbroken. That night you got a message from Bakugou. "Heard you're not working at the store anymore," he said. "Good news travels fast, huh?" you replied back sarcastically. "Why'd you get the flick?" he asked, as blunt as ever. "Because of my seizures," you replied back, just as frankly. "It sucks," he replied. Well, at least he's being a bit sympathetic, you thought. "Yeah," you typed, not really knowing what else to say. "So that means you're free tomorrow then," he sent back, just as you were about to put your phone down. "Yeah, I guess so. Why? Do you want me to come to your school and find your desk again for you?" you typed back sarcastically. "No, I want to take you somewhere," he replied back. "Where?" you asked. "Come with me tomorrow after school and you'll see," he said. "Meet me at the school gates, 3:15 p.m. You sent back a thumbs up and shook your head with a smile. This guy, you sighed and flopped back on your bed. You hadn't told your mum or grandma about discovering the truth behind Bakugou and yourself. You wanted to see how this would all play out first before telling them that you had found the person who was supposed to be your soulmate. At that moment, he was some really obnoxiously rude guy who happened to always be there for you at the most critical times in your life. You sighed heavily again. What were you going to do about him? Was he really your soulmate? The next afternoon, you met him at the UA school gates, and he walked with you down the road. "So, you going to tell me where we're going?" you asked as he silently walked beside you. "You tell me," he said slyly. "What the heck is that supposed to mean?" you quipped, a little angered. "No, I'm serious, Yin. Pay attention to your surroundings." That was the first time that he had ever called you by your name. Usually it was just an oi or hey, or he'd just say something out of the blue and you knew it was directed at you. You fell silent and looked around you. These roads felt familiar, but you didn't know how to explain it. It must be my body remembering his world, you thought as you walked. A small cafe popped up in your vision, and you walked directly to it and pushed the doors open, Bakugou following you in, a slightly amused expression playing on his face. You looked around and walked over to a table and chairs by the window. You picked a table with 3 chairs, even though it was just you and Bakugou. "Interesting choice," he said with an amused quirk of his eyebrow. "Why'd you pick here?" I don't know," you replied honestly. "It's because when I come here after school I come with Kaminari and Karishma," he said casually. "This is the seat we choose mostly." You let a quiet "oh" slip and looked down at the menu. "You want to order for me?" he smirked. You looked up. "You can't be serious," you said. "Dead serious," he replied, leaning his chin down in his palm and locking eyes with you. That look, that stare that he used so often was starting to get you hot and bothered. Did he know what he was doing when he looked at you like that? Okay, you said, biting your lip and looking back down at the menu. If I were Bakugou, what would I order? You thought. Oi. His voice snapped you out of your thoughts. Don't overthink it. You glanced up at him, then back down again. The waitress came over at that point and asked if she could take your order. You greeted her politely and placed your order, then glanced at Bakugou. He was still watching you intently and hadn't even acknowledged the waitress. Are you gonna order? You asked him. You know what I want, he said in an almost provocative tone. His tone of voice was enough to make you and the waitress blush. Okay. Your eyes flicked across the menu and paused as they came across a spicy cutlets dish. Spicy cutlets bowl, please? You said, looking up at the waitress. Sure, she said brightly, jotting it down before walking happily away. You looked over at Bakugou. Well done, he said with a smirk. And there ends chapter 11. Stay tuned for chapter 12.